UFC 287 is less than a week away, and this one is stacked. A nice layoff which has allowed the UFC to take a bit of a deep breath and line up some really good fights here. Layoffs are always a good thing in this case. As always, the first video today will cover the prelims of this card, and then I'll follow up tomorrow with the main card predictions. There is some value here to be had, so let's dust off those wallets and make a little bit of money. I'm going to do the coin flip on this one. Expertise and knowledge mean fuck all in these situations. I'm going to take Amorim. She's looked decent in the regionals, showing some finishes mostly on the ground in the first round. She's with AT&T. Now, I know there's no photo here, but look her up. She's, yeah, she's quite nice. Sam Hughes, I just think is meh. I'm going to go with a second round finish for Amorim. She looks quite good. I think she'll have a slightly harder time than she usually does, but I think she'll get Hughes out of there. Let's move on. Alright, I'm going to take Nuerdianbieke here. Despite my worry with the reach and height and output advantage in Garcia's favour, Lian is coming off a rigged win. Let's just be real. Minna took a dive in that one. Steve Garcia beat up Ben Askren's son, Chase Hooper, who I think is bloody rubbish. He can't strike and he looks like he's 8, so that really didn't impress me. I think Lian is slightly more explosive and can go to the grappling if he needs to. He's also insanely experienced for a pretty young guy. He's had 49 pro fights, 49, and he's 28 years old. I am going to stay well away from this one, though, in terms of the gambling. If I was you, I wouldn't bet on it, because Garcia could catch him. This is a close fight. I'm going to take Lian, though, to win 2 rounds to 1 in a close but fun one. I picked against Trey Ogden against a worse opponent in Manuel Torres, which unfortunately got cancelled a few cards ago. I think Bahamondez is younger, and he has the kind of output that Ogden might struggle with here. I also don't think Ogden has the wrestling prowess to dominate Iggy. Iggy has had some tough losses earlier on, but his recent wins against Roosevelt Roberts and Rujong, who's pretty dangerous himself, show that he's improved enough, and I think his reach and power advantage are going to be telling here. He's younger, he's hungrier. I just like him in this one. Ogden's pretty crafty, so at these odds again, you could maybe use it as part of a parlay, but at minus 330, Bahamondez, I don't know, that's a bit too wide for me. I think he will get a decision. I think it will be potentially 3 rounds to 0. I can see Ogden having a few moments, but nah. I think Bahamondez has got this. Alright, back to the coin. There was a time I thought that Carvillo was a pretty decent looking prospect, especially in the way she kind of smuggled as a wrestler. She had what was kind of a title eliminator with Caitlin Chukagian, and I actually picked Carvillo in that one, and she came up short. But since then, she's had really big problems making weight at strawweight, and she's looked pretty shite since then. I'm not really picking Lupita because she's good. I just don't trust Carvillo. There's a chance she could use the grappling to neutralize Godinez, but just look at that iron chin on this female person. Carvillo has fought better girls, which makes me a little bit uncertain, and I'm tempted to go against everyone and pick her. Do you know what? I'm going to learn from my mistakes, and I'm just going to pass on this one. Screw them both. Chase Sherman can't grapple, and Williams can, kind of, for a heavyweight. Williams also showed he can take a little bit of a smack against Bursky in his last one, in one of the most horrible excuses for a scrap I've ever seen. So, I don't see Chase Sherman being able to knock him out. I think Williams takes him down when he feels like, and just lays on top of him in a vaguely sexual and uncomfortable manner. I think Williams wins this by, like, humping his leg, and I don't want to use the word sexual assault, but it's going to feel like that at times. Alright, I know this is a risky one, but I'm going to take Joe Pyfer. GM3 is the man at playing the spoiler, but I have to look at where the fight can be won purely here on this one. Pyfer is a ridiculously strong guy, and I think he's going to use it to prevent GM3 from locking up a Hail Mary submission like he seems to do whenever he gets to any third round. If it does go past the second, I will be nervous though, because we all know that the third round is GM free time, hence the name. I don't think it gets there though. I think Pyfer is hungry. The UFC is really pushing hard on this guy with the whole redemption story, coming back from a serious injury and almost facing homelessness, etc. I'd like to see GM3 win just for the banter, but Pyfer is way too powerful. He's young, he's looked really explosive, and I think he's going to get a KO win here. And I think he's going to do it in the first. If it does go later into the fight though, watch out. Alright, this might shock you due to my usual attitude towards women's MMA, but this is actually a good matchup. Watterson is pretty skilled. She's got a very good karate style, and she's been in there with some really good competition. She's a bit older though, and that does present a risk. I think this one's going to be very close. Pinheiro is pretty well rounded. She has a nice grappling game. So if she wins, I think it will be done there. I think if she can take Watterson down and keep her down, she could cause her some real problems. I'm going to take the underdog though. I think Watterson will manage to negotiate difficult positions and get up when she needs to, but will have the more significant moments on the feet to take a narrow win home. Trouble with women's MMA is that the rules and scoring criteria simply don't apply to them. So what's very likely is that you'll watch this one and feel that Watterson won, but then will be left confused and annoyed and tearing up your betting slips when she somehow loses it by split. I'm going to go with who I think actually won and not who I think is going to get a robbery. So I'm going to take Watterson, but this is going to be a tricky one. Alright, I love Kelvin Gastelum, but I'm taking Chris Curtis. My major issue with Calvin is that he's a fat, dumpy, midget middleweight. And if he took training more seriously, which he should have done throughout his career, he should have spent the entirety of it at welterweight. In truth, he looks more like a fat bantamweight. His injury record is really worrying as well. Chris Curtis has basically waited for years and years to get to the UFC, and he's taken advantage of his time here as an older guy. He's fighting regularly, and he's performing pretty well. He did have a pretty bad performance against Jack Hermansson, which was very frustrating to watch, and I actually picked him in that one. But I think he's excellent in the pocket trading, and I think this is where the fight is mostly going to take place. Gastelum basically needs to get on the treadmill, put the deep fried sausage down, and go down to welterweight. I think Curtis is going to win by UD, as Gastelum's very hard to finish, but there's going to be hairy moments for both of them. Alright, so if you haven't seen my recent video on MMA versus boxing, please check it out. It's trending pretty well. I recommend giving it a go. I have an overall record of 76-30. You will struggle to find that anywhere else. So that gives me a win percentage of 71%. I'd like to take this opportunity again to thank all the new subscribers and old. You are all beautiful, sexy people. I'll see you all tomorrow for the main card then. In a bit.